doing it well. Sweet home CannaBama, where the weed grows high. Sweet home CannaBama, beneath the southern sky. Sweet home CannaBama, where the knowledge flows. Sweet home CannaBama, where the good times grow. Now, citizen green tea sauce here. Reaching vets with wellness, that's their aim. Spreading the word, easing the pain. MJ Discount's calling, they recognize the fame. Sweet home CannaBama's gonna play the game. With presentations and connections, they'll take the stage. A new era's dawning, turn a new page. Sweet home CannaBama, where the weed grows high. Sweet home CannaBama, beneath the southern sky. Sweet home CannaBama, where the knowledge flows. Sweet home CannaBama, where the good times grow. From Mobile, Alabama, the message rings so clear. Cannabis education cast away the fear. With every broadcast, the seed they sow. Sweet home CannaBama, help the good times grow. Sweet home CannaBama, where the weed grows high. Sweet home CannaBama, beneath the southern sky. Sweet home CannaBama, where the knowledge flows. Sweet home CannaBama, where the good times grow. Roll on, CannaBama, roll on. Spread the word, let your freedom song be known. Sweet home CannaBama, yeah.
What can we do to instigate something that is going to amplify all the work by Indigenous for Indigenous?
These tribe leaders are now coming together since ICIA has been formed.
5 and 10 years from now, definitely cannabis will be a lead driver with tribal nations. It's an opportunity for us.
We have to have our voice in that body politic. Our voice has to be there.
The fact that the Indigenous community is now unified by the ICIA is a beautiful thing.
By joining, people have access to networking, tribes that are in cannabis, tribes that are interested in being involved in the cannabis industry.
THC, CBD, THCA, Delta 8, these are all $1 billion, and it's only the first 4 or 5 molecules we've gotten out of the plant.
Medically, cannabis has been used since time immemorial, but also not just on a medical side, but to provide a future for my people.
I do see hemp as being able to transform the materials economy, to address carbon sequestration, and to just be an equitable new economy.
What can tribes do with all this land, with the sovereignty, with so many different things that we have that nobody else has? We need to have these discussions and start getting in the game.
To make good changes, you got to work together. And I want to make sure that Native people are at the table, not on the menu.
When we are united, Indian country's voice is very, very powerful.
Take yourself on down to St. Francis Street. When the day's got you down and there's too much pain in your feet, got a lady down there, got everything you need. Take me to the CannaBama Queen.
Upper 20s at daybreak. For Tuesday, sunny and cool with highs in the upper 40s. And for Wednesday, sunny and cool again with highs in the upper 40s. This is meteorologist Dr. Bill Williams for FM Talk 106.5.
FM Talk 106.5, the Gulf Coast Weather Authority. It's time for Sweet Home CannaBama, a show that'll answer all your questions, provide accurate information, and dispel the myths of cannabis. And have your specific questions answered by emailing Jennifer at CannaBama.com or text or call 343-0106. And now, for all things cannabis in Alabama, here's your host, Jennifer Boozer.
Welcome to the show, everybody. I'm your host, Jennifer Boozer, owner and founder of CannaBama in downtown Mobile. We are located at 558 St. Francis Street. Our phone number is 251-255-5155. Our website is CannaBama.com. That's CannaBama.com. We're on social media, on all the socials under Sweet Home CannaBama. And so I want to go ahead and jump in. This is the first show of 2025. We already are booking guests into March and April and May. And we have like maybe 2 open dates for the first 4 months of the year already. So we're going to Phoenix this weekend. Michael's meeting me there. We're going to the SSE Smoke Shop event, which is an expo. We're going to get some good interviews, and we will be broadcasting the show live from Phoenix next Monday night, which will be a first for the show, to do the actual radio show. So if you're driving in your car listening on the radio on Monday nights, you will be hearing us from Phoenix. So we're really excited about that. We're going to have some guests there with us from the SSE company, and as well as some brands that will be there as vendors. So we're really excited about that. And as always, we love to get to see our friends that we've met along the way at different expos. And the SSE company has always been really, really good to us. So we're excited. We're going as a buyer, but also as the show now to give some promotional press to the event and always give everybody a sneak peek into what life is like in the industry, what we do and how we do. So I'm really excited about that. We've got Mardi Gras coming up quick. We will be doing the Boom Boom Room pop-up shop this year. It was such a huge success last year. Everybody was super happy that we were out and conveniently located on the parade route. So we're going to do that again, and we're looking at adding some new elements, more locations and availability, and some new products. So we're really excited about that. And 420 CannaBama, we're planning. So if you are a small business, especially in the industry, we want to make sure that our 4th annual 420 festival, the only big 420 festival in the state of Alabama and one of the few in the Southeast, want to make sure it's a big success. So if you are interested in any of those things, email me, Jennifer at CannaBama.com. And to my industry colleagues, as we look to start each of the state's legislative sessions here at the end of the month, I want to say, reach out to the show. If something is happening in your state, it's very difficult once everybody's states start cramming bad bills and corruption down our throats collectively, because we get sort of tunnel vision in our own states and we forget that our brothers and sisters in other states around us are fighting similar situations. And then there's also federal bills and legislation always hanging over our heads. So, we want to reach out to you to say, hey, let us know when something's happening in your state, whether it's local or statewide, or you get wind of some federal legislation that's relevant to our listeners. Let us know. Email me, Jennifer at CannaBama.com. We don't know everything. And it's really difficult sometimes to get good information within this industry. So reach out to us and help us stay abreast of what's happening all around us. And we're going to even be bringing in some special episodes during the legislative sessions, because nobody wants to talk about politics all the time. We want to keep teaching the plant and keep exposing people to other aspects of the industry, while we still keep everyone informed as to what's going on in your state and within federal legislation as it concerns you, whether you're in the industry or you are a consumer of the products and reliant on them for your medicine. So help us stay informed and help us keep everyone else informed. Tonight's guest is the founder of THC Magazine and serves as executive director of the Indigenous Cannabis Industry Association. Welcome to the show, Mary Jane Oatman.
Thank you so much. It's such an honor and a privilege to be joining you all.
Thank you so much. I'm really excited to get to talk to you. You have so much vast experience. I was just, before we even spoke, I was looking at your social media and things like that. And I want you to tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do, but I want to list some of these titles and organizations that I saw that you were a part of. You were former president of the ACLU of Idaho, National Indian Education, former appointee to the National Advisory Council on Indian Education Association, the Indigenous Cannabis Coalition. What else do you do? I mean, where do you sleep?
No, you're listing that all off, Jennifer, and I'm like, oh, it makes me feel so old because some of those experiences feel like 9 lives ago.
Right. Well, I mean, last week feels like 9 lives ago sometimes.
Right? But one of those experiences that's actually not listed on there is I'm also a Indian Parent Committee vice chair and doing work specifically within Indian education. And the work that in my prior appointment under the Obama administration was kind of the credibility of me transitioning into the cannabis industry, and for us to be able to expedite such a progressive agenda for tribal nations in plant medicine.
Well, yeah. So I was going to say, tell us how kind of you just said you were in education advocacy. Is that how you got into cannabis? Tell us how you transitioned into cannabis advocacy and work.
Well, that's a kind of a weird and loaded question, because cannabis advocacy has, even in a subtle way, been a part of the advocacy work that I do. I mean, thinking back as early as high school, when I was running for student government in high school.
Really?
Yeah, part of my election campaign included, when you're doing student government, you get it, advertise your campaign.
Of course.
Some of my friends and I got together and we made the campaign slogan, what time is it? Time to vote for Mary Jane. And we made all of these clocks.
It's too easy. We were just discussing before the show. I said, is that her real name? And he was like, yes, it's her real name. How conveniently cool is that?
Yeah, we had all these clocks set to 420 and we put those posters up all over. And then like 5 years later, my high school best friend and I were running for student body president and vice president of the associated student body of our undergrad. And we ran with that same campaign slogan, what time is it? Time for, Mary Jane and Vinny for 8,
yeah.
ASLCSC. And so
that's so cute.
It's like kind of more of in a subtle way, but I also worked in law enforcement. And so there were times when cannabis was very much underground as far as my professional concern was related.
I'm sure.
I mean, I've shared in the past that I've packed pee into piss tests. I mean, I've had to, get stealthy with
right.
the work that I do, to kind of be a closet cannabis user. And then, of course, being vetted by the White House for an administrative appointment.
Wow.
Yeah. Those challenges because of my family past in history with 2 of my grandparents being incarcerated in federal prison for cannabis. So
wow.
I mentioned that to say that like some of the roots of my advocacy just go like.
It sounds
way,
like
way
just
back.
some of your regular old roots.
Yes.
That's amazing though. But I mean, obviously that must mean you have your family support then.
Oh, absolutely. Full family support. I mean, when I was really trying to figure out and shift some gears and do some soul searching, because, what happened, just, in a nutshell, was I had been out there doing this amazing career, and it felt like I had kind of hit my zenith in, the political type of work that I was doing for education.
Right.
Really focused around native language preservation work.
Really?
And then I was out in Washington, D.C. I come home and I do 1 year of law school, and I realized like this is just not for me. I knew that, going behind the bar,
right.
took a special class of person,
mm-hmm.
and it just, I knew it wasn't for me. I knew during orientation it wasn't for me, but after the first year, I kind of exited it out and I entered into the I-502 Washington recreational cannabis industry, taking all of my policy regulatory background.
Right.
I had also worked in an ambulatory surgical center as the OSHA safety training officer. So I was like, rules, regulations, compliance, ordinance.
Well, and it sounds like you just dabbled. You literally just dabbled in lots of really important aspect type careers that pertain to what cannabis, is about. It's medicine. It's, there's a lot of legal stuff, all the things. We touch on all of those things. I never dreamed that I would have to go and become a lobbyist. Like, I still don't even really know what that means. But in order to have access to the people who are making decisions that affect me, my livelihood, and my personal freedom of choice, I want to have a shop on the corner, and here I'm having to go become a lobbyist. When we come back from the break, we're going to talk more with Mary Jane Oatman. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Native Black cultivation is a true pioneer in Alabama's cannabis industry. As the first medical cannabis company to harvest in the state, they're committed to producing quality, sustainable cannabis. Native Black cultivation blends integrity, innovation, and inclusivity to ensure every product from the farm meets the highest standard of quality and safety. Their mission extends beyond cultivation, focusing on social and economic change through education and community engagement. Visit nativeblackcultivation.com to learn more.
At CannaBama, we believe that CBD is for everyone. Our demographic is human. There's no race, age, gender, socioeconomic, education, or religious difference in our chemical and electrical systems. Let no human be excluded. We work hard to create an environment of learning. Our goal is to bring together all people in need of help while celebrating each moment of relief. Educate, advocate, unify, and celebrate. Find us at CannaBama.com, Facebook, and Instagram.
Hey, Alabama football fans. Are you headed up to T-Town this fall for the game? If you forget to come by CannaBama first, you can shop at Tuscaloosa's first hemp dispensary, Freedom CBD and Wellness on 15th Street, just a mile up from campus. They have the largest selection of products in West Alabama and are ready to hemp you out with all your tailgate needs. Follow Freedom CBD and Wellness on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Roll Tide.
Mullins Lobbyist Firm is Alabama's frontline lobbyist team specializing in cannabis, autism, epilepsy, and small business. We fight for you in Montgomery. For information on current and future federal and state legislation, including S 4226 Cannabis Administration and Opportunity Act and S 980 Industrial Hemp Act Farm Bill 2024, visit the website mullinslobbyistfirm.com and follow us on social media. Is there a cause or issue you want to see changed or would like to get support for? Let us help you. Email al4medicalcannabisfreedom@gmail.com.
Welcome back to Sweet Home CannaBama. Now with all the information you want about cannabis, here's your host, Jennifer Boozer.
Welcome back, everybody. You're listening to Sweet Home CannaBama. We're here every Monday night at 7 o'clock, right here on FM Talk 106.5. We're live streaming from Facebook, Instagram, X, YouTube, and we are now on Citizen Green TV, which is available on Apple TV, Roku, and Amazon. We're really excited about that. Our first 4 episodes went up on New Year's Eve, so be sure to go check that out on Citizen Green TV. Mary Jane, I wanted to ask you, you're from Idaho, correct?
Yes, born and raised.
So what is the prohibition? What's it like up there? I mean, I know you guys don't have very much freedom. So what is the cannabis landscape in Idaho? Is it anything like Alabama?
Oh gosh, I think if we were to have, a sister state in terms of, the current laws and the law enforcement mentality, practices, it would be very similar.
I'm sure.
We have great access to adult use in medical states completely surrounding us.
Right.
And then we have that situation of, our citizens that have such easy access crossing back into the Idaho borders. And then, of course, they're facing the full criminal penalties,
right?
Including many of the elders and family members in my own community, which creates another complexity because our reservation is in Idaho.
I was just going to ask, how different is it when it comes to sovereign land? How do the rules apply? Is it legal in the tribal areas in Idaho?
So that's another area where I can't speak to all of the other tribes in the state. We're at varying levels. I know that one of our sister tribes has not fully decriminalized cannabis, but they have within their like hiring practices, their codes and ordinances around employment and drug testing. My tribe in 2017 went a step further and passed the resolution for the cultivation of up to 8 plants per adult per household. So we've kind of, opened it up for home grow, home cultivation.
Right.
But we do not have a commercial code for cannabis at the moment, but we are one of the few tribes in Idaho that has a USDA plan approved for hemp cultivation, which in our state makes it even more interesting because we are one of the only tribes that has a flower plant approved in a state where industrial fiber is the only thing authorized by the state of Idaho.
Oh, wow.
So that means that if you are a non-native and you live within the boundaries of the Nez Perce Indian Reservation and you want to cultivate smokable flower, you can under the tribe's law, even if the state law bans it. So
wow.
There's that creates a lot of opportunity to, if you, work or reside within indigenous homelands, to find ways to partner with the tribe.
Well, so how does that work though? If the tribe can grow smokable flower and you can purchase it, I assume, on tribal land, what about people leaving tribal land? I mean, how does that work? Because you're talking about a federally protected commodity, but then there's state law.
Yeah, that's where things get really interesting because we do have a big influx of the Delta 8, Delta 9 products, just like other states where they have the prohibition of the higher THC sister plant.
Right.
And that we have, I guess, the long reach of the law, still trying to push the boundaries. We're really looking at enacting something similar to what they did in North Carolina after the Eastern Band of Cherokee legalized adult use in that state. And then for the tribal members and then eventually adult use for all, is that they had a slight uptick in possession charges outside of the boundaries of the Qualla territories.
Right.
But they also have more organization within the Association of Cannabis Lawyers, and specifically the National Association of Black Cannabis Lawyers, and their work in North Carolina around an initiative called Don't Plead for Weed. And so really educating and arming and kind of creating a network of our tribal cannabis lawyers and cannabis practitioners in general in states like ours.
Right.
It behooves us to find those legal protections, whether they be in kind, lower cost services, but we really need to start a greater education campaign, kind of like back in the day when the Pot Brothers at Law did their,
their
initiatives.
Yes, I got to see them in Vegas a few weeks ago. It was so cool. They are very cool in person.
Education is really,
it is. Education is cool. Yes. I mean, they're just out there on Instagram telling people how to handle situations when they come across law enforcement or situations where legal advice is needed. And they're just putting it out there for people because not everybody can afford to pay a lawyer $250 an hour or $500 an hour or whatever they charge to just stay safe. There's so much gray area out there and there's so much difference from state to state and federal. And if you're talking about it and calling it hemp, it's one thing, but if you're calling it cannabis, it's another. And there is so much. I'm surprised more professionals in the legal, well, maybe not in Alabama. I'm pulling from that experience. I'm surprised that more lawyers aren't getting better educated on the cannabis industry because, it's happening whether anybody's ready for it or not. And it'd be great since nobody will talk to us outside of Alabama. It'd be great if somebody in Alabama who could read and had a legal degree could maybe study up, but no one asks me. Let's talk about the fiber. You said that you love to talk about the innovative things that tribal nations are doing with industrial fiber. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, that's one of the areas that we're working on, finding kind of that harmony and balance as a trade organization within the Indigenous Cannabis Industry Association, where I serve as the executive director, is that, we've had opportunities under, like robust opportunities for tribes under the 2018 approved version of the Farm Bill. 2014 was a little wonky.
Yes.
They forgot two simple words, and tribes. And post 2014, prior to 18, we had tribes being rated for growing industrial fiber.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. The Menominee Tribal College was doing a research development grow in Wisconsin, and their property was rated by the DEA, enforcing over an industrial fiber research cultivation project. And so there was a lot of advocacy efforts to include those two words and tribes so that they could operate similar to states and others working under license programs. So from 2018, essentially, we've had a lot more tribes exploring the opportunities around hemp. And just like everywhere else, with kind of that, chicken or the eggs, like we want to grow, but there's not the processing facilities. Who's investing in it? Well, tribes are stepping up. We have a tribe in Minnesota, the Lower Sioux Indian community, and they built 4 homes out of hempcrete.
Yeah, I mean, what this is bringing up for me is, I've watched a lot of documentaries and things about indigenous tribes and the severely low job rates, high drug and alcohol use, lots of not great things. Does this opportunity to add growing hemp, whether it's for medicine, for fiber, for herd, whatever it is, does that create, it has to create job opportunities, income opportunities, things for the indigenous peoples to be able to do to bring income to that community that just, almost out of thin air, because it's something that, it's not new, but it's new to us kind of thing. Is it creating more opportunities for the people in those tribal areas?
Oh, absolutely. From entry level to the C-suite, we're seeing tribal nations really expand out workforce development opportunities in hemp, in the adult use and medicinal cannabis space. Some of the leading researchers in cancer research, are from tribal nations doing some innovative and progressive research on the medicinal side. And then we have community testimonials where they say that they've gotten people coming back from treatment centers that are working in soil on agricultural projects where they're not missing days. They are showing up and they like the work that they're doing. It provides a little bit, and these are family members that don't fit into traditional, like they're not designed to work at a bank. They don't want to go to the casino and work, but for some reason,
me either, honey, me either.
Yeah, and I did it. I'm out in a parole room and work in a tribal enterprise program where you see yourself working in the other side. Maybe in the in the harvest side or whatever that is, and then have a career ladder and perhaps technical training through community college, tribal college, to advance those skills to then climb that career ladder in cannabis. That's what's happening, in mainstream as well as tribal communities in industrial fiber and the cannabis side. And
like I said, it's not new, but it's new to most of us. And so we're all, every time I have an interview, every week, I have to ask my guests, tell us who you are and how you got into cannabis, because we all had other careers. I don't care if you're 27 years old in the cannabis industry, you probably worked a different type of career 10 years ago when you first started working, in the world, because most of us have been in this less than 10 years on the hemp side. And so there is, everybody has a catalyst, a why, what drove them into this. And it's so interesting. And there are so few people growing for fiber, but that tide is turning, because I am having more and more conversations every day about fiber, about food, about construction materials, insulation, things like that. Way more now than I was 5-6 years ago.
Oh, yeah. And I think that the more that we have the community convenings and the opportunity to gather. Like I heard just over the commercial, a State of Black Cultivations. As soon as I heard that name, like it was probably a little over a year ago, I take it to the Google search and I want to learn a little bit more.
We got to go to break. I got to cut you off right there. When we come back, we'll talk more with Mary Jane Oatman.
FM Talk 1065, the Gulf Coast Weather Authority, and Dr. Bill Williams.
Gulf Coast expect partly cloudy skies tonight. It will be cold with temperatures in the upper 20s at daybreak. For Tuesday, sunny and cool with highs in the upper 40s. And for Wednesday, sunny and cool again with highs in the upper 40s. This is meteorologist Dr. Bill Williams for FM Talk 1065.
FM Talk 1065, the Gulf Coast Weather Authority.
Hi, I'm Cherish Lombard with WKRG News 5. Bond set for a man accused in a New Year's Day homicide in Bay Minette. Today, a judge set bond for 18-year-old Kendrick Johnson at $200,000. Police say 19-year-old Jatavius French was shot to death on Pecan Street, west of Highway 31. Investigators say French and Johnson got into a fight at a New Year's Eve party, then another fight where at least 25 shots were fired the following day that turned deadly. Mobile police are looking for the man they say attacked a shoe station employee. That happened around 7:30 Saturday night. Officers say the man was holding several unpaid items and dropped them when he assaulted the woman and stole her cell phone at the store on Hillcrest Road. A man accused of attacking his roommate with a hammer is charged with assault. It happened at a home on Sullivan Avenue in the area of Government Boulevard and Pleasant Valley Road. 40-year-old Jeremy Grayson was arrested. No word how the victim is doing. Mobile police found a man with gunshot wounds walking to USA Health University Hospital. They say he was shot on Hart Street, about a block from the hospital. They say that man will survive. Cherish Lombard, WKRG News 5.
Mullins Lobbyist Firm is Alabama's frontline lobbyist team specializing in cannabis, autism, epilepsy, and small business. We fight for you in Montgomery. For information on current and future federal and state legislation, including S 4226 Cannabis Administration and Opportunity Act and S 980 Industrial Hemp Act Farm Bill 2024, visit the website mullinslobbyistfirm.com and follow us on social media. Is there a cause or issue you want to see changed or would like to get support for? Let us help you. Email al4medicalcannabisfreedom@gmail.com.
Native Black cultivation is a true pioneer in Alabama's cannabis industry. As the first medical cannabis company to harvest in the state, they're committed to producing quality, sustainable cannabis. Native Black cultivation blends integrity, innovation, and inclusivity to ensure every product from the farm meets the highest standard of quality and safety. Their mission extends beyond cultivation, focusing on social and economic change through education and community engagement. Visit nativeblackcultivation.com to learn more.
At CannaBama, we believe that CBD is for everyone. Our demographic is human. There's no race, age, gender, socioeconomic, education, or religious difference in our chemical and electrical systems. Let no human be excluded. We work hard to create an environment of learning. Our goal is to bring together all people in need of help while celebrating each moment of relief. Educate, advocate, unify, and celebrate. Find us at CannaBama.com, Facebook, and Instagram.
Hey, Alabama football fans, are you headed up to T-Town this fall for the game? If you forget to come by CannaBama first, you can shop at Tuscaloosa's first hemp dispensary, Freedom CBD and Wellness on 15th Street, just a mile up from campus. They have the largest selection of products in West Alabama and are ready to hemp you out with all your tailgate needs. Follow Freedom CBD and Wellness on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Roll Tide.
Welcome back to Sweet Home CannaBama. Now, with all the information you want about cannabis, here's your host, Jennifer Boozer.
Back, everybody. Tonight we're talking with Mary Jane Oatman. Mary Jane, before the commercial, you mentioned Native Black Cultivation, which is owned by my good friend Antoine Morgan, and you said you Googled them, and I had to cut you off. What were you going to say?
Oh no, I Googled them as soon as I heard about the brand, because I love the intentionality behind brand building, because I really see that the stories behind the brands is what makes people fall in love with them.
That's right.
And then I was even further, so then I reach out and introduce myself and connect with Antoine, and so I was really excited to be able to meet them in person at the Cannabis Regulators of Color convening in Oakland over the summer.
Oh wow!
And that's what I really love is just the more synergies. It's like a darn snowball, just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
I know Antoine is so great.
Connections.
He is the one grower in Alabama who consistently contributes to the information highway here amongst the few that will work together. And he keeps us informed, and he invited me. I've gone to the Tuskegee conference with him, the ag conference, and he's a fount of information, and he's the kindest person ever. And I'm glad you got a chance to meet him in person, because he's a whole force in person.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
That's
I'm glad that
brand builder.
I'm glad that he is one of the people at the forefront of cannabis for the people of Alabama, because I know him, I know his heart, and I know his intentions, and he is the type of person that needs to be at the forefront of cannabis medicine in Alabama. So there's my 2 cents on that. He is the absolute best. Yes. Okay, so you said something about the role that research and innovation and technology will play moving forward to inspire young people to see hemp and cannabis as workforce and jobs components of economic development. So let's talk about that, because I'm the least innovative techie. I can't even string together the right sentence. I can barely work my phone. So tell me what you meant by that. The technology aspect, that's Michael's forte. So I'm super interested in what you mean by that.
Well, I see so many different aspects of that. I think just, for those now that are in the exploration of like career development, where they're like seeing maybe a new pathway, they could blaze a new trail.
Yes.
For cultivation, strain research. We have a lot of our universities out there that are just now starting to prop up programs.
Yes, they're
Community
onboarding
colleges
very new information, and so there is a lot of opportunity in education and technology, I think, for sure.
Oh yeah, I think from mid-career transition to some of our earlier development of and I see it because some of our tribal communities are less shy about leaning into it. But I mean, we've had some of our tribal programs where they have the tribal youth bagging herd and reselling it as animal bedding, or Head Start kids going out and doing some of the soil work on industrial fiber and flower programs. So I think really also ending some of that stigma about how we interact with our young people in cannabis is also one of those areas that we need our young people taking the lead in that conversation.
Well,
So
and it's funny,
start conversations about us without us.
Well, and I recently, it's funny, I recently had a great experience. I got to be sort of a guest speaker for a few weeks during this last semester at a local university for a policy and law class, because they were doing a semester-long project, and the teacher decided that he would have them focus on one aspect or other of policy and law within the cannabis industry. And so he asked me to come in and interact with the class. It was 9 seniors, awesome, 20, 21-year-old kids, and they were just so enthusiastic, and they were sponges, and they were fascinated. And of course, there was a lot of good jokes running around the room, but it was so cool because I got to take my experience within cannabis and what I've seen, heard, and experienced within law and policy, and just defining words for them, just the vocabulary involved, so that they could do their projects. And I definitely think, it was so rewarding for me. I know the kids got a lot out of it. They came to my store and sampled some products since they were old enough. And, it was a really neat interaction. And I know that those kids will take that experience with them. And their professor was fantastic. And they were so much smarter than me. But I had a personal experience that proves what you're saying, that we do need to introduce young people to the mechanics of cannabis, the science, the farming, the testing, all of those things, because there are so many ways that you could go and get a law degree and still work within the industry. Go get a medical degree and work within the industry, an accounting degree, hell, open a transport company and work within the industry. So I agree with you there that more of that needs to happen.
I'm really more excited about like the trade and technical. Like my young son, when he was in high school, he had the opportunity to explore drone operations and actually, as he was graduating as a senior, be able to test out for drone certification.
Right.
And it was like, around that time when drone technology was increasing and industrial fiber, where they're starting to finally scale out, beyond 20 or 30 acres where they're
well,
really
and I
seeing
can
the
imagine
value.
that having a drone to fly over 30, 50, 100 acres just to visually inspect would be pretty helpful.
Yeah, so there's just so many other career development fields where
Right, and you can
I'm really
get
excited for it.
into things like Michael designing a metaverse city for Sweet Home CannaBama, and I could barely work it, but it's super cool, and
It's
there are
so
lots of
cool.
ways that the virtual world and virtual advertising, graphics, and just like the promo video before the show started, all of those things. There's so many ways you can work within cannabis, but also within your passion and your talents. I do think that there needs to be a catalog of ways that young people can start a career. And for people like me, I started my career at 40, in an industry that didn't exist the week before I started.
Yeah.
Because I was the first one in my state. So it's also a pretty cool thing to do midlife, in my opinion.
Oh, Jennifer, I love you saying that because that was part of the reason why I started doing this work was like, oh gosh, nobody else is doing it. And I kept sitting back waiting for anybody else to step forward with this cannabis advocacy in Indian country. And then I was like, why not me? My name's Mary Jane. I've established a certain level of credibility. And I've got this beautiful gem and story to share, which was my grandmother sharing her story about going to federal prison. And so what I did was I was having like my I want to say my early midlife crisis where I was like working in road construction and I was making like big ass dollars working at federal highway projects with my family, including my grandma who was in her late 70s.
Oh my gosh.
And we were out there doing traffic control on these projects. And I just kind of started just, picking her brain as well as my mom and my aunts about the thought about taking this idea and concept to print with Tribal Hemp and Cannabis magazine, and they stood behind it. And next thing you know, we're getting, issues out. We're collecting data and we're sharing the stories. And I think that just kind of comes full circle to healing. These stories heal people. What you do as a journalist, your team, it heals people. There's a lot of freaking trauma related to the war on this planet.
Yes, ma'am.
And the more that we can share stories that heal, we close that gap, and we help to push back against this reefer madness that's still in our Congress and still
it is still everywhere. It's
ideology.
Incredible. I want to know who was on that marketing team because there's not been better marketing in cannabis since then. Because it's still succeeding, even though you can legally buy cannabis in every state in the United States, but we still have reefer madness. It's crazy.
Oh, yeah.
We still can't have credit cards and small business loans, and we can't put a billboard in front of a hospital. It's ridiculous.
I really feel bad. I really feel bad for people that have that ideology because there were so misinformed, and it really it's personal impact stories that we love to share, and that's actually where you see that about face with anybody that's been anti-cannabis, that's seen
it's usually someone that
dignity.
They've met or some story that they have heard or someone that they know says, hey, I know you're anti, but let me tell you my experience. And that is exactly why we do this show. That's exactly why we have 420 and we do Mardi Gras pop-ups, because we want to make it normal. It's not a big deal. If it's not a big deal, they can't fear-monger us into compliance where we're afraid to talk about our medicine. We're afraid to share it with our neighbors, and we're afraid to admit that we use it. I mean, I stopped offering for people to call in on this show a couple of years ago because nobody would do it. Everybody's afraid their neighbor will recognize their voice. And it's amazing to me that people are still so afraid to admit that they are at least in support of, if not a consumer. Just because you are okay with something, I agree that you should have the right to drink alcohol if you want to. Doesn't mean I'm going to do it. Doesn't mean I think it's a good idea, but I think you should have choice to choose.
Exactly. We have one very short life to live, and this is between myself and my creator. And so that's the message that I really like to share. Is when we're advocating for the protection of tribal sovereignty, a big part of this as well, excuse me, is advocating for the notion of individual sovereignty. Like, we really don't have to ask anybody for permission except for ourselves.
That's right. We have talked a lot about inherent sovereignty on the show of late. When we come back from the break, we're going to talk a little bit about THC Magazine with Mary Jane Oatman. Stay with us.
Hey, Alabama football fans. Are you headed up to T-Town this fall for the game? If you forget to come by CannaBama first, you can shop at Tuscaloosa's first hemp dispensary, Freedom CBD and Wellness on 15th Street, just a mile up from campus. They have the largest selection of products in West Alabama and are ready to hemp you out with all your tailgate needs. Follow Freedom CBD and Wellness on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Roll Tide.
Mullins Lobbyist Firm is Alabama's frontline lobbyist team specializing in cannabis, autism, epilepsy, and small business. We fight for you in Montgomery. For information on current and future federal and state legislation, including S 4226 Cannabis Administration and Opportunity Act and S 980 Industrial Hemp Act Farm Bill 2024, visit the website mullinslobbyistfirm.com and follow us on social media. Is there a cause or issue you want to see changed or would like to get support for? Let us help you. Email al4medicalcannabisfreedom@gmail.com.
Native Black Cultivation is a true pioneer in Alabama's cannabis industry. As the first medical cannabis company to harvest in the state, they're committed to producing quality, sustainable cannabis. Native Black Cultivation blends integrity, innovation, and inclusivity to ensure every product from the farm meets the highest standard of quality and safety. Their mission extends beyond cultivation, focusing on social and economic change through education and community engagement. Visit nativeblackcultivation.com to learn more.
At CannaBama, we believe that CBD is for everyone. Our demographic is human. There's no race, age, gender, socioeconomic, education, or religious difference in our chemical and electrical systems. Let no human be excluded. We work hard to create an environment of learning. Our goal is to bring together all people in need of help while celebrating each moment of relief. Educate, advocate, unify, and celebrate. Find us at CannaBama.com, Facebook, and Instagram.
Welcome back to Sweet Home CannaBama. Now with all the information you want about cannabis, here's your host, Jennifer Boozer.
Welcome back, everybody. You're listening to Sweet Home CannaBama right here on FM Talk 106.5, Facebook, Instagram, X, YouTube, and Citizen Green TV. Tonight, we're talking with Mary Jane Oatman. She is the executive director of the Indigenous Cannabis Industry Association and a bunch of other really cool stuff. You are the founder of THC Magazine, and I just heard you say the THC means what?
Tribal hemp and cannabis.
All right, tribal hemp and cannabis. That is so perfect. So, well, tell us about the initial vision and goal. Why a magazine?
I picked a magazine from the get-go specifically because, well, when I was sharing, I wanted to share my grandmother's story through THC Magazine. And the other was I knew that we had a tremendous amount of negative stigma to overcome, and primarily amongst our elder population and tribal communities are the ones that have suffered a lot of those negative consequences and have a lot of the pushback, even for progressive tribal leaders trying to move the needle forward.
Right.
It's the elders in the communities that push back, like we have, as you mentioned earlier, the alcoholism, the opioid and heroin abuse and overdose issues, as well as many other pharmaceutical abuses and dependencies. So I picked print because it's something that you can feel, it's tangible, and this is like something that, you know, the carryover, read over rate, you know, a tribal leader brings it back to their community, they share it, it's shared in their family. So that was the reason why I went with print publication. because it was designed initially to educate our elder population and to provide a resource for our leaders to be able to showcase stories of success, stories of caution, and to be able to share the data was another part of the reason why I was starting the magazine. Who's doing what? Where are they doing it? And so I worked with a designer to create Tribal Nations' first dispensary and farm map, which is a directory of all of the USDA tribes operating hemp, as well as the tribes operating medicinal and recreational dispensaries. And then from there, just really working from there to assess then tribal member entrepreneur brands, because, you know, what are tribes? You know, there's 574 federally recognized tribes in the nation. And that means that each one of those respective tribal communities has citizens and community members that have very robust relationships with this plant and have had so long before a tribal government decided that they wanted to be in business with cannabis. Like sometimes those tribal governments were the ones that were creating the laws to criminalize their own people. So I want to always make sure to find that balance between the government and the citizens and the work that our nations are doing.
Yeah, I definitely think that, especially like I brought up earlier, addiction and things like that, especially in tribal communities. I mean, I know because I am in recovery. I spent 10 years down the opioid rabbit hole, and I'm 10 years clean. And the greatest part of what I get to do is help people to get clean and use the plant to do that in order to eliminate so much of the suffering that keeps addicts in that pattern of addiction. And I think that, you know, just like with veterans growing their own medicine and being able to treat their trauma and their injuries and their mental health issues and their addiction issues, I think it's a beautiful process to be able to see a community like that has been left behind, that has been sort of thrown by the wayside and left to fend for themselves and not been able to thrive, be given an opportunity with a plant that could absolutely cause that community to thrive. Just lift the entire thing up for all of the opportunities that it creates within the confines of creating a hemp industry in that community. Don't you agree?
Oh, I completely agree. And that's actually one of the pathways to healing that we had in mind for the work that we do with ICIA. It's not only with our veteran population, but within our elder community, or within our veteran population and elder community, because American Indian, Alaska Natives, statistically speaking by race, have a disproportionately higher rate of entering into armed services and military services.
Right.
We have a large number of veterans returning home to communities and still lacking access or finding disparity in healthcare situations with federal healthcare systems in states where they have access to medicinal and adult use cannabis as therapeutic measures. And they're finding the conflict between state and federal laws. So we were really, really honored to be able to have a collaboration with Veteran Initiative 22 for the DEA notice for proposed rulemaking and DEA hearings. So as an organization, we're just going to keep amplifying our voices as loud as possible.
Yeah, you have to.
Our partners. Yeah,
you have
partnerships are huge for us. We couldn't get and be where we are without strong partners.
I totally agree. I couldn't do what I do if I didn't have a whole lot of friends that are way smarter than me and more experienced in every aspect of this. I guess I've become like a human Rolodex after 5.5 years of doing these interviews every week, because if you need you need a hempcrete guy, I got a hempcrete guy. You know, you need a tribal person, now I got you. You know,
I got you, girl.
I've got a whole list of all these amazing people. You know, you need an addiction recovery doctor or someone who's, you know, creating a chemical profile for a great new topical that the market has never seen. I know who to call. So, you know, I don't need to know how to do all those things. I'm just the one doing the hugging and rubbing cream on people in strange public places and facilitating the meeting of the minds. That's what I like to I pride myself on being the conduit. You know, I love that. I love people. I love the plant, and I love putting people together. And if me getting on here and sounding like
cornbread every week is what the world needs, then hey, I'm here for it.
You are my soul sister. So my mom had told me that a long time ago, like a long time ago. I was a young girl, and she said, "You are a bridge." And so that's kind of always how I thought. I was like, my job is not to even necessarily always be the person doing the work, but if I can connect the money and the people and the communities and the resources or whatever it is, and sometimes that's all it is me. You know, and some people are like, well, what do you want from it? And I'm like, invite me to your business wedding. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes there's no strings attached. And that's a hard thing for a lot of people in this industry because of the schmarmy, snaky stuff that happened. Is they think
it's exhausting.
With strings attached. And then some of us aren't doing it because we love the plant.
Yes. Well, and more, but what I love is more and more women. Sorry, boys, but more and more women are getting in. And in my opinion, women are made for this plant because we're teachers, we're nurturers, and we just, women make those decisions in the household. And I think that the more women embrace it and shake off the stigma and the shame and freely admit, I think the best thing any of us could do for women as a whole would be to boldly talk about our consumption and how it doesn't keep us from being awesome boss ladies, be a good example. So let all these younger moms running around here with toddlers that are losing their minds like we were 20 years ago, tell them it's okay to take a smoke break out the back or have a gummy instead of a glass of wine. It's totally normal and you're okay and you're doing a good job.
Exactly. If more men could take a step back and realize the harmony of their housing infrastructure and their family unit with the transdermal patch for their beautiful significant other that suffers from chronic menstrual pain.
Yep.
I mean, that's one of those qualifying health conditions.
A bath bomb in a hot bathtub for 30 minutes will change a mama's life. Baby, it might change your marriage too.
Exactly. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, we got those products too.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Is I was like one of the top salesperson for that line of products for feminine care and partner sexual care products in the
and we just did a show about Clea, a menopause product line. So yeah, we're out of time, Mary Jane. I'm so grateful that you came and spent this hour with us. Thank you so much for your experience, for your expertise, for your compassion, for our lack of experience in tribal cannabis, and I appreciate what you're doing. It's a version of what I'm trying to do. Just keep the people informed and teach them what it is and what it isn't. I think that's a noble cause. And thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you so much, Jennifer.
We'll see you guys next week right here on FM Talk 106.5, Facebook, Instagram, X, YouTube, and Citizen Green TV right here on Sweet Home CannaBama. Good night.
Take yourself on down to St. Francis Street. When the day's got you down and there's too much pain in your feet, got a lady down there, got everything you need. Take me to the CannaBama Queen. She'll turn that frown upside down. Tell that old headache to pack up and head out of town. Move over arthritis, cause you ain't what I need. Take me to the CannaBama Queen. Take me down to the CannaBama Queen. Oh, good Lord, take me down to the CannaBama Queen. She He's got every style of CBD. Take me to the CannaBama queen. Take me to see it, baby. God save the queen.
How they've been mistreated, and some historical part of both cannabis and indigenous people is very similar, and how they've been mistreated and subjected to that mistreatment for hundreds of years. This plant is super misunderstood in so many ways and super underappreciated. And I feel like if indigenous people let it more, they would take it to a whole new level.
I founded the Indigenous Cannabis Industry Association as an advocacy and empowerment group to move policy and to build programming and peace of mind around our indigenous communities, activating in the cannabis and hemp industry, understanding how massive the industry really is. I wanted to create something that was malleable, that could be taken and be put to good use beyond me. But I saw a need for something that wasn't there on a national level, and created it. Found someone to fill the gap of leading it, which is Mary Jane. Now we've seen massive growth with this organization doing something bigger than I could ever do as an individual.
Well, we are at an Indigenous Cannabis Conference really to talk about how tribes can be more active and be involved, how to leverage sovereignty and the ability to kind of set their own destiny without overstepping what they feel like are boundaries created by the federal government, but also by the state.
So we're here to support our partners. Say, hey, we're doing this. We're in the biggest stage right now in the country for cannabis. We're utilizing a lot of these people on a successful level. We've made a lot of mistakes. We're good people that you can come to and ask questions. At the end of the day, you gotta do the work, and that's the most important part.
We are getting together and sharing a lot of really great ideas about cannabis here at the Policy Summit. There's different people here. There's a lot of new people. There's a lot of excitement that, just around the industry, and I think around this group of people that are really focused on moving it forward.
I feel like ICIA is so helpful and incredibly useful to me and to my clients because they bring everyone together. They're unionizing people. They're taking people from all over the country, walks of life that are coming here, sharing their knowledge, sharing their perspectives. And that is so beneficial to my company because that allows me to do my job, which is offer tribes options.
I'm really here to be in community and learn from so many, industry leaders and indigenous power players who are doing incredible work to support the advancement of cannabis and the industry.
It's really exciting to see plant and natural medicine starting to take center stage and to see the general consciousness of mainstream America start to shift in that direction, because there are few communities that can brag more expertise on plant and natural medicines than our indigenous communities.
We don't need to be vertically integrated because each one of us can take a different piece and decide to excel at that.
Getting our tribes to see where their superpowers already are aligned and where does that knowledge transfer occur over into the cannabis industry, because we want this to happen in a regenerable, sustainable way.
There is a responsibility, I believe, for tribes to take over this and to be a catalyst of change. I think that we're the conscience of this country, and I think that we're in a unique position to lead from the front.
Yes, we need to work in that grassroots, that legacy, foundational area of hemp and cannabis, but we really also need our tribes speaking up. That's who Congress is going to listen to. Being able to have a captive audience of 50 tribes at a meeting discussing sovereignty, and them seeing the urgency and importance of having cannabis as a part of that agenda is the data to prove that ICIA has been impactful and is effective in this work.
Hemp is a really incredible vehicle to look at expanding animal feed, which in the United States is under extreme pressure because of the war and grain prices. And then this shift into regenerative agriculture. And it's a whole new world in the way that we are treating sustainability and measurement and data in a climate conversation.
As a molecular biologist, I feel like we're not talking about the inherent medicinal values of the cannabinoids. And that means we're making products based on stereotypes and tropes that existed previously. Yeah, I think the way that it's really based in community. I mean, the ability to bring community together and kinship is a principle that Indigenous peoples universally center, and when you can see a business really ensuring that community voice is a part of the way that it's scaling, that to me reflects true sustainability.
I think we survive the politicizing of cannabis by continuing to come together at events like this. The work on cannabis policy reform is not over when we get legalization. That is just the beginning. By continuing to amplify these individual voices, by continuing to remind people who they should be listening to, by putting them on stages, we can try and hold the field a little bit around the soul of what this community is really about. It will be very hard for each of us individually to go up against large companies and multi-state operators. I can't emphasize how important conferences like the ICIA Summit are for building those connections and strengthening our community. As long as we continue to show up together, attend these conferences, stay in touch afterwards, that we have a shot at creating a really great space for cannabis industry and advocacy.
It's really important to get together like this because, these new ideas, these discussions that we're having is something that I'm learning every single time someone goes on stage, someone's talking, and it feels like we're building something that's going to be here in 50 years, 60 years, and I just want to be a part of it.
Well, I heard Mr. Young sang about her. Said Sutherland don't need him around anyhow. But sweet home CannaBama's got a different sound, where cannabis knowledge is spread all over town. Jennifer Boozer's on the airwaves, you know it's true. FM Top 106.5, she's got the crew talking about hemp and CBD with a rebel yell. Educating folks and doing it well. Sweet home CannaBama, where the weed grows high. Sweet home CannaBama, beneath the southern sky. Sweet home CannaBama, where the knowledge flows. Sweet home CannaBama, where the good times grow. Now Citizen Green TV saw something special, yeah. Invited Sweet home CannaBama to their sphere. Reaching vets with wellness, that's their aim. Spreading the word, easing the pain. MJ Biscott's calling, they recognize the fame. Sweet home CannaBama's gonna play the game. With presentations and connections, they'll take the stage. A new era's dawning, turn a new page. Sweet home CannaBama, where the weed grows high. Sweet home CannaBama, beneath the southern sky. Sweet home CannaBama, where the knowledge flows. Sweet home CannaBama, where the good times grow. From Mobile, Alabama, the message rings so clear. Cannabis education cast away the fear. With every broadcast, the seed they sow. Sweet home CannaBama, help the good times grow. Sweet home CannaBama, where the weed grows high. Sweet home CannaBama, beneath the southern sky. Sweet home CannaBama, where the knowledge flows. Sweet home CannaBama, where the good times grow. Roll on, CannaBama, roll on. Spread the word, let your freedom song be known. Sweet home CannaBama.